Professor Dave is a flat earther's worst nightmare. If he put the effort into debunking flat earthers that I do, then it would already be game over. He is phenomenal. So when I saw a flat earther claiming to have debunked one of Dave's most famous videos, I simply had to have a look. Hello all and welcome along to another episode of Flat Earth Friday with me, Simon Dan. Thank you very much for joining me. Before we begin today, a massive thank you to the sponsors of today's video, YouGov. I have found a brilliant way to make a little extra cash, and in today's time where prices are continually rising, that can only be a good thing. With YouGov, you take online surveys to earn gift cards and cash rewards. YouGov has polls and surveys about politics, pop culture, products and brands. I can give my opinion on topics that matter to me and get paid to do it. And it's so easy. I can take surveys when I'm waiting in line, having a break from writing, or even sat in the coffee shop. There are some really great surveys on YouGov right now as we speak. Things like, are UFOs alien crafts or ships, or is there a more natural explanation? And for those in the UK, what do people think about the new Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak? I'm using YouGov at the moment to fund my World Cup 2022 sticker collection. My son is absolutely mad on them and they cost a fortune. Wish me luck on that one. Click the link in the description box to start making some extra money now. Right, back to today's video, which as I said at the start is a flat earther's attempt at debunking Professor Dave. The flat earther in question is Flatzoid. Now you may remember him from Flat Earth Fail 31, where he said he was going to make me look like an ignoramus. Of course, he did not. Well, he sat down to try and debunk Professor Dave's video, The 10 Things That All Flat Earthers Say, that has amassed a whopping 5.7 million views. Given Flatzoid's immense ego and his Dunning-Kruger lifestyle, then this should be good. Away we go.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, so some of you may be aware of my recent foray into the Flat Earth community, most notably with this lengthy response to the Globe Busters. For about 2 months now, the comments section of that video has been a consistent hotbed of activity, with hundreds of flat earthers stopping by to share their opinions.
Wow, hundreds of flat earthers. Probably a lot of them are just sock accounts created to make it look that way, but yeah.
Now it seems Flatzoid is not a fan of the flat earth community as a whole. Oh dear.
For people who claim that globe-tards just repeat what they were told in school, you guys sure do all say the exact same things.
Oh, like you. Coming in, yeah. And yeah, globe-tards.
What even was that, Flatzoid? Why even pause it there?
And I don't just mean the same arguments, I mean the same things word for word, like they were copied and pasted from some manifesto.
That is actually very true.
It's a bit difficult to change something. Gas pressure requires a containment. It's an antecedent.
Which is exactly what Nathan Oakley would say, so point proven.
Let's try and restructure that in another sentence. Without containment, you cannot have gas pressure.
So what's going on with the actual air around you then, Flatzoid? Because that's pressurised, isn't it?
Another way, gas pressure, antecedent, container. You see, they're structured differently, but they have the same argument.
And one which has been debunked several times, yet you still parrot it.
This is how we can tell Dave is not up all yeah. So he thinks everybody having different structure of the same argument means they're all parroting the same thing. This is him going against the actual argument and obfuscating and doing strawman and red herring fallacies to, not actually rebut their argument.
What are you even blabbering on about? This is just his intro. He's yet to get to the 10 things.
This is why I say someone like this guy will not come and debate someone like me or anyone else, really for that matter, because he would get totally obliterated, because this guy is just fallacy king.
You obviously haven't seen his debate with David Weiss of DITRH, because that was an obliteration, just not in the way that you think.
This is because you all watch the same ridiculous YouTube videos made by the same handful of con men, and you all quote.
I like how he pronounces everyone is conman. I wonder if I'm part of that.
No, I don't think you are. I think you just parrot the con men.
Them verbatim without applying a shred of critical thinking. So now that I am intimately
Without a shred of critical thinking. That's all the flat earth is, guys. It's critical thinking. It means we do not just take consensus, we actually go and have logical thinking. We critical think. Hence why we don't believe in the globe. Hence why we can prove the globe is not true. Because it goes against critical thinking. It goes against reality.
As I said, everyone, Dunning-Kruger.
Familiar with your greatest hits, I just had to make one more video so that I could share the 10 things that all flat earthers say.
Okay, so we got it? You guys ready? The 10 things that all flat earthers say.
If you're a regular person and you haven't seen my other 2 flat earth videos, you may want to check those out first for a little bit of...
I like how it says if you're a regular person, as if us flat earthers are not regular people. No, we definitely are normal people. We just have the ability to think for ourselves. We don't go, meh, globe, you know?
Ah yes, the sheep insult, another thing that you all parrot.
Of context. But if you're a flat earther yourself, don't bother. I'll be speaking directly to you throughout this video. Let's begin.
Guys, did you hear that? He's going to be directly speaking to us throughout this video, but what has he been talking about? He's been talking about us, not directly to us. This whole video so far, and it's been a minute. Okay, just over a minute. And he wasn't talking directly to us. He was actually talking against us, about us. Does that actually show he's very intelligent, people?
Flatzoid, he did his intro and then he said he'll be addressing just you. What's hard to understand about that?
Number 1. One extremely problematic side effect of taking the globe and flattening it out into a plane is that gravity makes no sense, and there is no reason for things to fall to the ground.
Sorry, flat earthers never ever say that.
No, they don't, because otherwise they'd be arguing with themselves. He's addressing gravity. Give him a chance.
The globe comes from the flat plane, not the flat plane comes from the globe, Dave. So sorry to tell this to you, but you actually have no fucking clue. Already, guys, who is showing dishonesty here? He is. He's making up an argument. He's doing a straw man that doesn't even exist.
Do you believe in gravity, Flatzoid? No, you don't. So this argument is a valid one, isn't it? It does exist.
So that's very sad. So he's making an argument that doesn't exist. So that's really, really sad. How can I put this to you? Gravity doesn't exist, not Professor Dave.
Point proven.
The flat plane comes first and then the globe. So don't come and say, we say if you take the globe and flatten it out, then gravity has problems. No, 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 no. This is a globe strawman argument. Nothing to do with flat earth, by the way.
Well, it is, because without gravity, how do flat earthers explain how things fall? It has everything to do with you, Flatzoid.
Objects accelerate towards the ground at 9.8 meters per second squared. That's an indisputable fact.
Yes, and it's indisputable fact that we can prove its relative density disequilibrium.
Oh my days, not this rubbish again. Flatzoid, you cannot prove that. You just can't. And I believe in the process of trying to prove that, you will discover that there is an intrinsic down direction which can only be described as gravity.
Ha! Weird, because this apple is denser than the air around it. It cannot support it, so it has to. That, by the way, is just an accumulation of different data points that gives that. So it's an approximation.
You can literally figure out the 9.8 meters per second squared on your own, buddy. So no, it's not an approximation. Also, if the air around the apple is less dense than it, words are important, Flatzoid, you said around, why doesn't the apple go up or sideways? The air above and to the side of it is less dense than it as well. I'll tell you why. Because there is an intrinsic down direction, gravity.
And it is also an indisputable fact that any acceleration requires a force.
Don't even try to teach them this, Dave. They won't get it.
Ah, yes. You guys heard that? Any acceleration requires a force. Last time I heard gravity is not a force. So you just debunked yourself, so-called Professor Dave. Relative density disequilibrium has a force attributed to it. Unlike your gravity, it's not a force.
Okay, yes, technically it is not a classical force, but the mechanisms that cause gravity means that it acts very much like a force. So, for want of a better word, force is fine.
How do you have acceleration again without a force?
to produce it. This is how cars drive, planes fly, people walk, cats jump. It's how literally all motion works. Even charlatans like the globe busters accept at least this much, which is why they go off on their rants about magnetic magic.
Look at old Professor Dave there watching old Muggins here on his next up videos. Thanks, Dave.
They say electrostatic. In other words, the higher you go up, it changes at 100 volts. So this gives the potential to give their down bias. This is why I don't agree with them that much. They are pushing it that it's sort of like replacing gravity, in other words, just giving it another name. That's why I don't agree with their dielectrics rubbish.
Flat earthers all arguing about different things is one of the main reasons why none of it is true.
Because what makes it different from your guys' globe gravity? So yeah, I do agree with Dave. What does it have to do? But still, what has this got to do with the actual argument you presented? Pushing it flat and putting gravity. Flat Earth doesn't push gravity. You guys do. You just debunked yourself also when you said gravity is a force, because you all know gravity is not a force. And if you were a professor, you would know this.
You would, yes, but you would know that it acts like a force, as I said. And you would expect scientifically literate people to get that. So,
as you may have seen in my previous video. But quite comically, most flat earthers don't even do this. Most of you address this problem by simply listing two words: density and buoyancy.
So this is the first thing that Dave is listing that flat earthers all say, and not 2 minutes ago, Flatzoid was literally saying it. Amazing.
Well, I hate to break it to you guys, but these are not forces.
Yes, they are forces. It's called pressure. Is pressure a force? Last time I checked, pressure is a force. Let's see. What is pressure?
So he's given an answer and now he's Googling to make sure his answer is correct. This really is a Mickey Mouse operation, isn't it?
Pressure. Please do concentrate. Continuous physical force. What is density? It's a force. It's pressure. It's the pressure. It's forcing itself down. It's forcing through because the medium cannot support it. There's not enough pressure to hold the object up. There's force, but it's not enough to be able to support it. Thus, it comes down.
Word salad of the most exotic variety there from Flatzoid. You see, there's also not enough pressure to stop it going up. And you keep saying down. Why down? Why not sideways? Why not up? You are debunking yourself every time you say the word down.
If I had to pick this up, I literally picked it up and put energy into the system. It's got potential energy now.
Yes, gravitational potential energy.
There's not enough pressure supporting it down. Do you understand? It's not going to carry on going up because I literally picked it up. I put energy into the system. It's out of its equilibrium. It's relative equilibrium. Now if I let it go, what's going to happen? I released that energy. It is now transformed into kinetic energy and it has gone down. What happens? It's a force. It accelerated due to pressure.
Utter nonsense. If what you are saying is true, then steel ships, no matter what their shape, would sink. Steel is denser than water, yet when shaped like a ship, it doesn't sink. And yes, I do know the reason why it doesn't sink, but I'm hoping they'll argue with this and bring up buoyancy, which involves gravity.
Thank you very much, Professor Nodder, Professor Dave. Let's go on. Hope you're all still with me. Busy going to go through and debunk this clown of,
Forces are vectors. They have a magnitude, which means a numerical amount, and a direction, which means they have to point somewhere.
Which we just explained in very short terms, which shows this guy doesn't actually have a flipping clue what he's talking about, because if he had any logical thinking like he said in the beginning, he would not have actually brought it up as a force because gravity is not a force.
Okay then, genius. What's your magnitude with relative density? What's the numerical amount? What unit is relative density measured in?
Density is simply mass per unit volume, or how much matter sits in a particular space.
Yes, so in other words, density is only one part of relative density disequilibrium. Something here is ignored about, don't you guys understand that?
it doesn't point anywhere. And buoyancy is simply a measurement of an object's tendency to float.
Buoyancy. Would that be pressure? Pressure forcing the object up because it can actually support it?
Let's have a quick look at the equation for buoyancy, shall we? Oh, what's that little G in there, everyone? Let's all say it together. Gravity. Right, I think that's a good place to leave it today. We'll continue with Flatzoid's lecture next week. Who knows, we may even go through the whole thing. But for now, we are all done and dusted for another Flat Earth Friday. Thank you so much for watching. It truly is appreciated. If you enjoyed it today, please do consider subscribing to the channel. And of course, if you really enjoyed it, hit that like button as well. Just enough time to once again thank YouGov for sponsoring today's video. Remember, to start earning extra money, please do click the link in the description. I've been Simon Dan. Have yourselves a great weekend, and I'll see you on Tuesday for the return of the great Hans himself. See you then.